As a child, one of my favourite occupations was to lie on my back and watch the clouds. If I'm honest, it still is. It gives me a deep sense of peace and stillness to look up at the heavens and watch the clouds scudding by. I used to dream of being able to bounce across the tops of the clouds like Mary Poppins. But a little growing up, a few geography lessons, and a basic understanding of science taught me that sadly it isn't possible. Clouds, after all, are water vapour, and in that form, water isn't dense enough to take my weight. So this passage and the idea of Jesus coming on the clouds has always rather intrigued and, if I'm honest, slightly disturbed me. For with it comes a gathering in of the chosen ones on a day and a time that no one knows, and so we are advised to stay awake and alert. It seems cut with fear and has a slightly menacing edge that doesn't quite ring true with the message of love that Jesus came to share. And I've really battled with trying to understand this text in a way that makes sense to me in this time, today. After all, Jesus says, "Truly I say unto you, before this generation has passed away, all these things will have taken place." So has it already happened? Did the cloud leave without us? The word cloud in Hebrew means a covering and is used as a symbol of divine presence, which would imply that we might not physically see the second coming so much as feel his presence. And perhaps that's how Jesus is present in every generation. And this call to stay awake, because you never know when this time may come, is perhaps as much about having an awareness of where we meet that divine presence in our daily lives and how we choose to respond to it. Just maybe Jesus returns again and again. The question is, can we see him when he does? Do we see him in the homeless, the hungry, the refugee, the marginalised? A few weeks ago at the opera night, just as we had finished serving supper, a man came in. He wore dirty and dishevelled clothes and had a sleeping bag slung around his shoulders. He was met at the door, shown to a table, and an order for another meal was put in at the kitchen. He was offered food and hospitality, and we put together a parcel for him to take away. As he got up to leave, he looked me in the eyes and said, "Thank you. You've all been so kind." And then he was gone. Who was it that really sat amongst us? Who sits beside you now? Dominic Crossan suggests in his book God and Empire that, and I quote, "The second coming of Christ is not an event that we should expect to happen soon. The second coming of Christ is not an event we should expect to happen violently. The second coming of Christ is not an event that we should expect to happen literally. The second coming of Christ is what will happen when we Christians finally accept that the first coming was the only coming and start to cooperate with its divine presence." Unquote. When we as a church cooperate with the divine presence, what comes next is healing. Healing for the marginalised and excluded. Those who are on the edge find a new place of belonging. Today, here on this first Sunday of Advent, choosing to also commemorate World AIDS Day, we hold a space of healing for all those in our parish our community and our world who are living with or affected by HIV. HIV has been prevalent amongst us for a little over 30 years now, which is a generation. The new generation of marginalised and excluded. And so I thank you as a church on this, our 6th World AIDS Day service, for being the Christ light that beams out into our parish, into our city and our world, that says, here you are welcome, here you are safe, here you will be loved and accepted as Jesus commanded, love one another as I have loved you.